Up until now, we've been working with the canvas fixed into the workspace. But you're not limited to this. You can actually use the zoom tool to zoom in and out to work closer and more precisely. So to start zooming, let's look at the zoom tool. So it is the last one in the toolbar here on the left, or you could press the letter Z on your keyboard to open it up. And with the mouse, let's just check the options on top here. You see right now we're in the zoom in mode with the plus selected. So if we were to click, 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 we will zoom in. If we were to switch this mode to the minus, we will zoom out. So as you can imagine, it's not so efficient, and hopefully there's a better way. Well, there is. There's like 5 different ways to zoom. So let's have a look at these different ways. First of all, have a look at the options again. Check if you have Scrubby Zoom on or off. Okay, if Scrubby Zoom is on, this is how it will behave. When you click and drag to the right, you will zoom in. And then whoa, if you click and drag to the left, you will zoom out. Had a bit of lag with my computer there, not sure why. So click to the right, you zoom in. Click to the left, you zoom out. That is the Scrubby Zoom. Personally, I don't like Scrubby Zoom at all. I always turn off Scrubby Zoom because then you get this nice little ability to zoom on a specific area. So if I wanted to work with this little area over here, with Scrubby Zoom off, click at the top left, drag a box, and then release at the bottom right here when I have selected the area that I like. When I let go, Photoshop zooms in the best it could to that area that I've selected. So if you ask me, this is a much better way to zoom in than Scrubby Zoom. But there's still other ways, so let's have a look. First of all, we could zoom with the menu. So in the view menu over here, anything to do with viewing the canvas will be in this menu. So you could zoom in or zoom out using these shortcuts over here. But take note of the keyboard shortcuts. If you like keyboard shortcuts, this is one you'll use quite often. It's the Command plus and the Command minus. I imagine on the PC it is the Control plus and Control minus. So I'm going to use the keyboard shortcut, and every time I use it, it zooms out by a certain amount. So another way with the zoom tool, you can click to zoom in, and instead of coming up here to change the mode with the mouse, you can simply hold the Alt button on your keyboard, and that temporarily activates the zoom out mode, and then click. Finally, the last way you can zoom, which is also a pretty good one, is if you hold the Alt button on your keyboard, you can actually use the mouse wheel to zoom in. So you can scroll up with the mouse wheel to zoom in and down with the mouse wheel to zoom out. So please experiment with those. Choose the way that you prefer to zoom. I recommend turning Scrubby Zoom off, okay? And then using either the keyboard shortcut, Command plus, Command minus, whoops, Command plus and Command minus, or using the Alt button with the mouse wheel to zoom in quickly. Once you're zoomed in, let's talk about moving around. So if you're moved in, and let's say you want to work on something just to the side, so there's a few ways to do what's called panning. So panning is moving the canvas around. So you have these scroll bars over here. If you click and drag them, you can start moving the canvas around. Bottom one moves horizontally. The one on the side moves vertically. You can use the mouse wheel, although I don't recommend that. The other way to pan around is using the hand tool. So that's this tool over here. So you can activate it by pressing the letter H for hand. And when you have this tool, you can click and drag on the canvas as if you have your hand pushing it around. So this is how I do it. However, I don't activate the tool. What I do is I leave whatever tool I'm working on. So let's say I have the brush tool. What you can do is temporarily activate the hand tool by holding the spacebar. So if you hold the spacebar, the cursor changes to the hand. You can click and drag to move it around. And when you release the spacebar, the brush, the tool that you had previously been using, will be selected. So that's my recommendation for penning, is to get used to the temporary hand tool, which is by holding the spacebar. It's the biggest button on your keyboard, so it's very easy to get to. Just hold that spacebar down, click around, and you're good. And the last thing I want to mention are some zooming shortcuts. We talked about zooming in and zooming out, but if you check the view menu, you have some other options here for zooming. So you have fit on screen, fit layers on screen, and 100%. So these are the three that I use. Fit on screen will fit the canvas to your screen as best as possible. So let's say I want to get back to seeing the whole thing. I could just click on fit on screen and it will zoom out and it's going to fill as much as it can to show you the entire canvas as big as possible. And then you have 100%. So if I click on 100%, so this zooms to the actual size of the object. So this is showing you a more realistic representation of how the image will actually look on a computer when you export it as an image. So that's it for zooming and panning. Get comfortable with this. The better you could learn these techniques, um, the more you can focus on what you're actually creating inside of Photoshop instead of focusing on the tools and getting around the interface. So I encourage you as much as possible, find the techniques that you like, the way you like to work with Photoshop, because I just showed you a bunch of different ways to do the same thing. So basically, choose the way that you like to zoom, choose the way that you like to pen, and get comfortable doing it. That way you'll be able to work faster inside Photoshop and really focus on the creating instead of clunking around this interface over here. All right, see you in the next video.